Louis Hine took 5,400 photographs and wrote hundreds of documents depicting the abysmal state of child labor practices from 1908 through 1940. Louis Hine always had a love for taking photos, even when he was younger. He was born on September 26, 1874, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. His parents ran a popular coffee shop and a restaurant on Main Street. He went to high school and studied psychology, and he moved to New York in 1901 to go to college. Shortly after he went to New York University, then he transferred to Chicago University, and finally he ended up at the University of Columbia due to financial stress. 3 different colleges, all very prestigious schools. He was in college for 6 years. In 1904, at the age of 30, he got married to Sarah Ann Rich, and only 1 year later received his master's degree in psychology in 1905. Sarah was also born in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and met Louis Hine at school, and they quickly became friends. Eventually, they started to date. Louis Hine got a job as a teacher at the Ethical Teaching School in New York. In the same year, he fell in love and got married to Sarah. He taught psychology for 3 years. During this time, he still took photos of life around New York, capturing the essence of the city and its many people. Through his equitable lens, there starts to emerge a damning portrait of child labor practices. Hine also realizes the need for diplomacy through his photography in order to start dialogue of debate as to what child labor laws should in effect look like. In 1905, he went to Ellis Island to take photos of immigrants. He would keep taking photos until the National Child Labor Committee, the NCLC, the committee that fights child labor, offered him a job in 1908, which he gladly accepted.
From 1908 to 1924, he took photos of children working in factories, cotton fields, coal mines, among other locations. His photographs helped to reveal the harsh reality of child labor. In 1908, there were at least 1.75 million kids working these jobs. His most famous photographs and documents were focused on child labor. Most Americans did not know how harsh child labor was. The NCLC wanted Hine to go undercover and take photos of children working in deplorable conditions. Hine helped reveal the injustice and horror of child labor practices with his camera. On December 12, 1912, Louis and Sarah Hine had a child named Corydon L. Hine. In 1914, he went to the Colorado cotton mills to take photos. The cotton mills were dangerous because the children were inhaling dust from the cotton. The cotton dust caused chronic damage to their respiratory functions. In fact, in 1916, he traveled to California to take photos of the oyster shelling. He found that children working had cuts and bruises all over their feet because they had to step on oysters all day long. If the children inhaled the oyster dust, it could be toxic. The oyster dust could cause cuts in their lungs and or throat. In 1920, it was said that half of the children stopped working. He traveled everywhere to record child labor, all the way up until 1920. In the 4 years, he went to photograph World War I. In fact, in 1924, after many people had been exposed to the horrors of child labor, through his pictures, he started to gain the attention of Congress. This was an integral step towards debate, as Hine had now captured the attention of the government. His last published work was Men at Work for Child Labor, which he published in 1932. It was a book that includes most of his photographs and documents throughout his career. In 1938, after much debate, laws were put in place so that children 14 and younger could stop working in such harsh and brutal conditions. The laws were called the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. These laws were put in place because children should not work at such a young age. Children should not work when their health, educational opportunities, or well-being is jeopardized. Photography can light up darkness and expose ignorance, said Lewis Hine.
Lewis Hine captured pictures about children working in sweatshops in terrible living conditions. There were kids that worked in the coal mines and died at a young age just because of the air they breathed. Some were captured in pictures, muddy and bloody. Hine exposed all of these situations and more with his camera. Most kids worked for 12 hours or more every day in these horrid conditions. The children did not get paid fairly. They barely got paid 50 to 60 cents a day. Lewis Hine proved many facts about child labor and exposed these realities to the world. Lewis Hine's wife died in 1939, just a year before his death. Hine essentially stopped working after losing his life. He was slowing down and not feeling so well. So he went to the doctor. He was told that he needed an operation. Something went wrong during the operation. He died the same day. He died in his beloved home, New York. He will always be remembered as the man that saw through the cruelty and exposed the world to the repugnant and unjust working conditions that countless children experience, and facilitated change for the better.
The NCLC and Congress debated about the laws of child labor over many years. But without Hine's contribution and passion for the subject matter, these changes might not have occurred so quickly. Lewis Hine was diplomatic in the way he provided evidence to a debating Congress, through pictures that told the truth and documents that told an important story. Pictures are a powerful tool when used for seeking truth and justice. In the end, it was a success, partially due to Lewis Hine and his photography. The outcome was that child labor laws were put in place, and it became illegal to have children 14 years and under working. Lewis Hine had achieved success by giving children the ability to have an education and a chance for a normal childhood, leading to more successful and well-rounded adults for everyone's future.